Sid, welcome back to Kerala.
Thank you.
And you have come in the right time. It's Onam celebration time here.
Yeah.
So you were born in Chennai.
Yes.
And you were relocated to California. So both these places have a vibrant Malayali diaspora also.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever come across the Onam celebrations in any of these places?
In California, my mom's a Carnatic music teacher and she has many Malayali students. So because of that, we've been aware of the Onam celebrations, and then they like bring food and such. But I've never really been deeply embedded in it. But I've always been very fascinated by it and the joy that comes from it. And then once I got a little bit older and I was in Chennai during Onam time, I have friends that would celebrate then, so I've been with them. But I've never been in Kerala during Onam.
So this is your first time
Yeah.
in Onam time here?
Yeah.
Onam, if you know, is a deeply rooted festival in culture also, in music also. It has its own traditional music.
Sure.
Have you ever come across any of these Onam songs?
No, I have not.
By the time we end this interview, I'll introduce you to one.
Yeah, please. That
Okay.
sounds great.
Okay. When I heard you sing the song Chinnam Chirukaliye, I was suddenly taken back to my own childhood. Way back in my childhood,
Yeah.
there was a temple near my house where they used to play this song in a Nadasuram. So that takes me back all the way to my childhood.
Yeah.
So when you think of your childhood,
Yeah.
what are the sounds that you attach to it?
There's some specific songs. One is definitely the song Shivanarmanam Kulira that my mom taught me when I was young, that I still perform a lot. That's Tirupura. I go, Shivanarmanam Kulira. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. Then A.R. Rahman sir's music. Because growing up in the 90s, his music was very much the soundtrack to my life. From Roja onwards, every album was very much a fixture in the car. And then I think some like blues records, like B.B. King and stuff. But that was when I was like 11 or 12. But once I started jumping into that kind of jumps out in my mind as well. So these three kind of different spaces for sure.
Other than music, any other like specific sounds or memories or anything like that, that is musical, yeah?
Other than music,
Any instrument that you used to like?
I think very early on I was drawn to the flute just as a tone. I loved it. And then the drums, just percussion. I learned mridangam very briefly when I was a kid, and I loved the sound of it. And then over there, like a lot of kids that are musically oriented, they join like the school band. And I played the drums in band, everything from like snare drum, concert percussion stuff to the drum set. But I also like recall like very early on that I would be just drawn to any sound and it would feel kind of like music. And it sounds a little cliche, but if it's like the wind, the way that blows, or even like construction sites and such like that, anything that I would hear, it would kind of register either rhythmically or somewhat melodically. And it really like, I think early on it registered to me that everything kind of moves in harmony, human beings, all organisms within it. And I think that's how I kind of perceived the world, especially sonically. Through sound, I kind of took it that everything that's happening, you might view it as chaotic or haphazard, but it seemed like everything was in some sort of order that's beyond human comprehension. So this idea is something that's occurred to me since I was a kid. And so all the sounds that I would kind of take in would register in that way.
Okay. So once you are past your childhood,
Yeah.
I think the first time you hit a limelight or a what you call a fame was
Yeah.
when your cover for All We Try
Yeah.
got into people's attention.
Yeah.
So how do you remember that experience?
Yeah, so I'd been studying at Berkeley at this point for 2 years. And I took a year off of college to intern and also just kind of figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And around that time, Frank Ocean released his first project. This was in like 2011. And there's a song on that project called We All Try that I fell in love with immediately. Again, it resonated with me because he's asking very many like existential kind of based questions and such. And it felt like music that really had weight to it. And around that time, I also lost for the first time two very close relatives. My grandfather and my aunt passed away in 2011. So kind of spontaneously, me and my friend, his name is Doc Skim, he's a Korean pianist, we made a cover of that song. And it wasn't with the intention of like becoming famous or something coming out and going viral. It just felt like very much emotional kind of outpouring. And we released it and it just kind of took off like wildfire, especially at the time, still being in college. Having something have like that kind of an impact was very, it was eye-opening for me. Just to see that music that I was a part of or something that I sang could traverse the world in that way. And very early on, it also showed me that music has the power, or music through how I communicate it has the power to really help people. Because a lot of the comments I'd get from that video was people saying that it really helped them through a tough time, or you know, something like that. So that was the first, in many ways, my first kind of initiation into becoming a musician who really had a purpose, I feel like.
Sid, we talked earlier about healing and all. So that brings us to COVID time, you know.
Yes.
That was a time when people needed a lot of healing, and there you produced Entropy. And Limitless is a song which all of us attach to a lot.
Yeah.
So what was your creating experience of the same?
Sure. So Entropy, I actually made that album in 2017. Released it in late 2018-ish. So the album had already been out for a couple years once the lockdown hit. But I did see during that time songs, especially like Limitless, which is really a song about hope. A joyful song about looking into the future with the sense of boundlessness. I saw that song was really resonating with people. Even myself, I would listen to that one sometimes just to, you know, the lockdown was such a strange time because at the beginning of COVID, we didn't really know what was going to happen. And for the first time, at least in our lifetime, it was a collective feeling that everyone across the world felt. So it was like the great equalizer, I feel like. So in a time that felt like there was such a lack of hope, that song kind of providing that feeling of hope to people, not only healing, but a sense of like, I think in those moments of desperation or those lowest points, we just need something to hold on to make us feel like that life is going to get better, that there is indeed a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what that song is about. But during the lockdown, myself, like anyone else, especially at the first like 2-3 months of it, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was in Chennai right before, but I went to lockdown back in California with my family. And, you know, most mornings were spent waking up, staring at the ceiling for like 30 minutes without knowing what to do for the day and then trying to figure something out, you know. But through that kind of sense of void and that vacuum, that's when I started making music again. I wasn't making much original music for the couple years after I made and released Entropy. But during the lockdown time, that's when I started composing and writing lyrics again, without any real goals or anything in mind. It was just done as a purely cathartic exercise for myself, just to feel better. And the music that I started composing during that time is what would become my album Siddharth. And that album for me was a real transformational one because, one, it helped me get through the pandemic, just creatively having something to focus on. And then two, that was the first album where I feel like a lot of the experiments that I tried in the past of bringing together the Carnatic music with the Western forms and seeing how they could all fit together, the stuff that I started doing when I started at Berkeley, this Siddharth album was the first time where I feel like I really came full circle with those experiments, and it felt like the most refined versions of the visions I'd had when I was younger, and it really helped me travel the world. I got to perform NPR Tiny Desk with that album. We went to Coachella to perform that album. I toured most of the globe with that album. So I think Entropy was like almost a starting point for many ideas, and Siddharth was where a lot of those ideas matured. And it showed me that music that is inherently Indian at the core of it, because all the music that I write, melodically, even conceptually, rhythmically, at the core of it is definitely quintessentially Indian. That album showed me that this sound can travel the world and it can really push boundaries.
coming back to your voice quality, what I'm impressed about your voice is mostly the dynamic range it has. So they say your voice is as smooth as a whisper in the rain, but you at the same time it's strong enough to cut across the entire orchestra. How do you generate such a dynamic range?
I've worked at that. I think when I was younger, most of my singing was quite loud. One thing my mom was a stickler for from young age is using your full voice. Again, singing from the diaphragm, opening properly when singing, not muting oneself.
What's the difference? Can you?
So like, let's just take is like full voice. Same. But then immediately it just mutes the voice. It feels like the life gets sucked out of it almost. And I'm very lucky that my mom was very insistent on that, because she's a bit unique in that way that from a young age, all of her students, she makes sure that the full voice is used. But with that, one has to really figure out how to find the dynamic range, because when you use your full voice, when you mute your voice, it's easy to sing quietly. But when you're using your full voice and there's all the air that's being used, it's hard to figure out how to control one's voice even when singing quietly. So that's just been a process of just working at it over the years, and learning to also fall in love with the very vulnerable, intimate, delicate moments, and to sing something softly while still projecting the right way has been a real gift. I think it took me some time to figure that out, but I think, life is all about the arc and the ebbs and the flows, and music is just extension of life, and it's a direct manifestation of one's lived experience. So to be able to have the ability to, vocalize that journey from the quietest moments to the most powerful, regal moments and everything in between is really special. And I think that's also what has allowed me to, during my shows, really bring the audience along on a real journey, instead of it just being like this started, and be able to go up and down in various ways.
So in Carnatic, there's a raga for every mood, maybe you can attach them to, and maybe every season.
Sure.
So when you think of rain, what is the raga that comes to your mind?
When I think of rain, I think of Desh raga. So da 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 la 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 la
The way your voice slightly cracks in between is very beautiful, actually. Do you do that deliberately? Or?
No, that's just, so if you notice when I speak, right, my speaking voice has like this little bit of rasp to it. And it's been that way since I was a kid. When I sing, it doesn't happen, but every so often it'll just like peek in, and it happens naturally. It's definitely not on purpose.
That adds beauty, yeah. I can't complete any interview about you without mentioning Rahman sir. So he was the one who gave you the first real break.
Yes.
So let's take us through that process.
Yeah. So I mean, he's been my hero since I was a child. And when I was in college, that's when he won the Oscar for Slumdog. And I remember being in the dorm room when that happened, and just feeling this deep sense of pride, and just also exhilaration to see someone who was from the city that I was born in, spoke the same language, getting honored at the highest level in the West. Soon after that, I sent him an email with some of the original music I'd been working on at the time. Just a shot in the dark, a cold email. I'd gotten his email address from a friend that was interning with him. And about like 10 days after that, he responded back saying, nice singing. And that was that. I didn't hear from him after that for a while. But when I was in Chennai, about a year after, I got a call from his office to come meet Rahman sir at Panchatan, his studio in Chennai. So I met him for the first time, another big dream come true. And then a few months after that, I got the email from him saying there's a song from Maniratnam sir's movie, Kadal, that I want you to try. I was still in Boston at the time. This was my final year of college. So I got the email in the morning, quickly booked a studio at Berkeley that evening. My major at Berkeley was music production and engineering, so I had access to studios there. But no one could know this was happening. On the side of AR sir, this had to be a confidential thing. And then in terms of my college, you can't use the studios, or you couldn't use the studios for any commercial purposes. So I kept it quiet. I went into the studio, and we did a session from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. my time. Sir was in Bombay, I was in Boston, and I had an old laptop whose camera wasn't working, so it was just the audio through Skype. And in those 4 hours, we recorded the entirety of Adiye. And that song was such a special song, not only because I was debuting with Rahman Sir and Mani Sir in Mani Sir's movie, but the song was a real path-breaking piece in that it brought together blues and gospel-style music from the West, and it really married that very effortlessly with like Tamil fisherman folk language. And for me, it was the perfect debut because it felt like all the aspects of who I was, and lots of what we've spoken about today, all the influences, all my kind of anchor points coming together in one song. So that came out in 2012. I was 21 when the song released. And
did you, by the way, realize that it was a final recording?
No, at the time, I thought it was an audition. I thought he was just trying me out. He said, I want you to try the song. So the way I took that was, okay, I have to show that I'm capable of recording a song, and then after that I'll get called to like do the final recording. But that recording had such a special energy to it because I was obviously just so locked in because I wanted to make sure that I impressed my hero. And he had just, I think, composed the song just a little while before that. So he hadn't been sitting with the song for too long. So that recording had, in some recordings just have that magic energy because of various factors. And that was definitely one of them. Near the end of the recording, I ended the song with this long riff. It goes, like a long R&B riff. And A.R. Sir was very appreciative of that. But still, once I finished the recording, I thought it was an audition. Then I didn't hear anything for like 6 months after. And then they let me know that the song was finalized, and song came out, and the rest is history.
Yeah. You sang many of his songs later also.
Yes.
Which are very popular.
Yes.
Okay. That brings us to another thing. Like, you have sung almost in all South Indian languages. Mm-hmm. So you sometimes are a very busy man also. You have to sing one day in one language and the other day in another language.
Sometimes two languages same day.
The same day, yeah. So it's not all about diction. It's about the emotion of every language also.
Sure.
So how do you effortlessly switch between those languages?
It's just been a process of really chipping away at it. I think when I started, even in some of my early Tamil work, again, some of like the anglicized kind of accent things slip in here and there. I really refined my Tamil in the context of film songs. I think after Tali Pogade, which Tamare ma'am was the lyricist, and she just would not let me go on to the next line until I got one line perfect. And she's a real perfectionist, and like set in her way. She won't let you. So I think that rigor really helped me with the Tamil. And with the other languages, it's just just surrendering to the process, being ultra respectful of the language, and knowing that I'm forever a student. So when I started my first song in Telugu, it took me a few songs to really get the pronunciation right. But I think you said something very interesting and very accurate. That it's not just about the diction, but it's also about the emotion. Each language comes with its own nuanced emotional spectrum. And I think that's something that I always had an inclination towards. So even the songs where there might have been some slight mistakes with the diction, I think what I always was able to tap into was the emotional potency of the language and what was required by the song. And I'm very blessed that the audiences and my fan bases in various languages have been patient with me. You know, they've allowed me to grow. It's been a real, just a gift. Because I think because I've been given that space to grow, I've fallen so deeply in love with all these languages, from Tamil, which is my mother tongue, to Telugu, to Kannada. And finally, I think the last of the 4 southern languages that I recorded in was Malayalam. And I must say, it's such a beautiful language in that there are certain intricacies that I didn't even realize in any other languages. And it's been the most challenging for me, but it's been the most gratifying process of just diving deeper and deeper. And I do find with every song that I've recorded, I'm understanding more of, like I said, the nuances. But I think I always understood the emotional kind of anchor point of my songs in Malayalam, and that's why they performed as well as they have.
Coming back to Malayalam, your songs are so popular in Malayalam, in a wide range of audience also. Like, saying that my daughter is 9 years old. She listened to your songs religiously. And yesterday when I was coming here, I was in an auto, and the driver of the auto rickshaw was listening to it also.
Yeah.
So that range is so wide.
Yeah.
So how did your Malayalam experience begin?
My first song in Malayalam was Parayuvan with Jake Speedjoy. And Joe Paul wrote those lyrics. And that was my first kind of initiation into the different nuances and intricacies of the language. And the song became a mega hit. And then after that, I think the next one was Madhupole, which, again, it was technically a dub from a Telugu film, but the audiences and the fan base here really embraced it as their own. And I think...
they think it is not a translation, it's an original.
That's so cool to me. I think anytime that a song feels like it is native to the land, it's so special to me. So I think that's the one that really like opened me up to a wider audience here. And then Uire Kavarum, that song, that's with Ankit Menon, that just pushed that even further. Then there's been multiple songs in between. But most recently, I think Minnalvada is the one that really has like a true stamp to it. And it's been... I've been in this industry now for over a decade, and to see a song, you still get that feeling internally when you see something get celebrated by the masses in such a way. It's been very magical to watch that happen.
See, you have come down to Kerala to attend the Flowers Music Awards 2025.
Yes.
So Flowers is happy to announce that you're winning the Best Singer Award also. Wherever you go, you are usually bombarded with a song request actually.
Yeah.
So when some Malayali comes to you and say, Cheta oru paattu vaado, which would be the song that you would sing?
I think I'd definitely sing Minnalvada for sure.
So can we hear it?
Yeah, sure. കണ്ണോട് കണ്ടപ്പോൾ കണ്ടെത്തി ഞാൻ 1000 താരകൾ പൂത്തുവെന്ന് പിന്നെയും പിന്നെയും കണ്ട നേരം പുഞ്ചിരി പൂത്തുലഞ്ഞു കാണാതെ വയ്യെന്ന തോന്നലായി കണ്ടിട്ടും കണ്ടിട്ടും പോരാതായി തൊട്ടപ്പോൾ ആത്മാവിൽ തേൻ നിറഞ്ഞു പൂ പോലെ നീ വിരിഞ്ഞു ഉള്ളിൽ ഒളിച്ചൊരു മോഹമെല്ലാം കള്ളത്തരങ്ങളുടെ തുള്ളികളായി കണ്ട നേരം കൊണ്ടലായി കൊണ്ടലിൽ മിന്നലായി മിന്നൽ വാള കയ്യിൽ ഇട്ട പെണ്ണഴകേ എത്തിത്തോടാൻ എത്തുകില്ല മാറി വീഴാനു നീ മിന്നൽ വാള കയ്യിൽ ഇട്ട പെണ്ണഴകേ എത്തിത്തോടാൻ എത്തുകില്ല മാറി വീഴാനു നീ.
Wonderful.
Thank you, brother.
It's a festival time. It's Onam celebrations time now.
Yes.
So let's together wish the Kerala audience a very happy Onam.
Yes.
Happy Onam.
ലോകത്തെവിടെയായാലും ഏത് സമയത്തും 24 വാർത്തകളും ഓഗ്മെന്റഡ് റിയാലിറ്റി പാക്കേജുകളും എക്സ്പ്ലെയിനറുകളും വിശദമായി കാണാൻ ഞങ്ങളുടെ യൂട്യൂബ് ചാനൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യാം.